Hi. My name's Mark Grist. I live in the British city of Peterborough. I used to be an English teacher. I'm approaching middle age, and I really want to learn how to rap. Last time on Mark Can't Rap.
Which goes back to the one thing that I've been saying that you need more in everything, which is...
You said confidence.
No, but in the words, in the writing, in between the lines, what do we need?
Oh, we need space.
How do you breathe if you don't have space?
Yeah. So, I've been writing. I only have 3 more episodes of this podcast to make before I've got to release my first mixtape. So far, I've got 6 tracks on the go, and I can't finish any of them. I keep adding a line here, 4 bars there. Some tracks I haven't written much on, some are running on for pages, but I just can't seem to finish what I've started. One day, when I'm in the pub, I bump into a student I used to teach. His name's Lewis. He's been rapping for a few years now. He sometimes sends me his tracks to check out. I ask him whether he'd be happy to speak to me.
I don't like my writing when I forced it to, and I can tell when I forced it, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I used to be Lewis's English teacher just over 10 years ago.
I'm funny, like I'll start a track or whatever, I'll get halfway through and something else coming to my head, I'll start another track. I've got about 12 different tracks.
This is what I'm doing, this is what I'm
minute
funny.
and a half
exactly
in,
what I'm
yeah.
funny.
It's hard to close them, innit?
Yeah, it really is, and you can be like close to finish.
Yeah, and you can't, and you come with another minute. It started off being a 3-minute track and now it's like 4.5 minutes.
That's exactly what I'm getting.
It's hard.
It is hard. I've always liked Lewis. I mean, you're supposed to like all of your students, but I don't know. He was pretty naughty, but he was also a really talented writer. Whenever he got into something, he just got really into it.
When I was younger, I used to just write for the sake of writing, not have like no structure to it. I just write, get it off my chest. Like that was what it was for. It was just to get it out. That's how I express myself, kind of thing. But I could never close like that because your emotions, your expression, your passion will never stop. Do you know what I mean? There's always more to say. So the easiest way to close it, I thought, is come with a middle, a beginning, a middle, and an end, innit? And then you know once you've done your middle, you know, and then you come to the end and you're like, right, let's wrap it up now, kind of thing.
Ask him about Gigs, a UK rapper I've been listening to.
What do you think of Gigs?
Gigs is good. I used to love Gigs. Well, I preferred him when I was younger. When I was in like year 9, year 10, I was smashing Gigs. The old albums, Let 'Em Have It, Gigs Let 'Em Have It was like one of my. I'd have it on repeat, like.
Yeah, see, I taught you in year 8.
Year 8, year 9. I left in year 10, I think. Yeah, I left at the start of year 10.
As the years went by at my school, Lewis picked up some good grades, but he also kept getting in trouble, and his attendance got worse too.
Even when I was in school, I was messing about. Do you know what I mean? Just on like random instrumentals with your mates at the park, just chatting bubbles, innit? Like.
Back when
you
were
at
at
Hampton? Hampton, back like just rubbish. Do you know what I mean? Like. I remember the first ever lyric I wrote was LJB to the 1, 2, 3. Like that's how simple it was. Like
I remember
my initials and then
I think you told me that once.
I might have, yeah.
I think you told me at the end of an English lesson once. I think you told me about it.
Yeah. I had some old stuff.
In the end, Lewis got in so much trouble that he just ran out of chances, and he had to leave our school a year before his GCSE exams. I was so gutted when it happened. I had no idea what he'd do.
I went to college and just like a week of it I was like, I ain't doing this, and just couldn't hack it in college, and just had my kid and just went to prison like when I was 19, come out when I was 21 and 24 now, do you know what I mean? So I've been out like 3 years nearly, and I ain't going back to that shit.
In case you missed that, Lewis just said that he ended up in prison. I hadn't realised that before we'd sat down. Did our school let him down? I can't help but feel like we could have done more for Lewis. I keep thinking about what Inja told me, about how he felt let down by teachers when he was at school.
Oh, well, when I was a kid, I hated it all. And I wanted to be out of it. I didn't want anything to do with it. I didn't read, I didn't do anything like that because no one helped me or showed me the enthusiasm, so I didn't do any of it.
But I went in there with not many qualifications, you know what I mean? When I come out, I had fucking cooking, radio and music presenting. I got level 2 radio and music and presenting qualifications, City and Guild. I got that in jail. Wow. I got carpentry. I got good qualifications that I've helped business management. I got business management level 2. Like, so when I come out, I've done well. Do you know what I mean? I needed it. I was one of them kids. I needed a year. I'm like, I need it done. Do you know when you say sometimes prison will sort you out? It was that for me. Do you know what I mean? I needed it. Like, other people go down the wrong route. They go there and do you know what I mean?
Do you write about that? Do you
yeah,
write
of
about
course,
that?
of course.
Is that in your writing?
Yeah, of course it is. Because I was like one of the that's what I was gonna say. Like with content in my music and in my writing, it's real life, and I talk about how and that's what makes it mine is because the passion I have for what I'm saying. I don't do you know what I mean? I wouldn't write a song with no meaning or with like stuff that I hadn't done. I'm not talking about stuff I have no clue about. Do you know what I mean? I'm talking about what I've done in my life.
Lewis came out of prison with a bunch of extra qualifications and he threw himself into his music. Lewis said he needed prison. I don't know whether it's a good or a bad thing for Lewis. I do think it's a good thing that he learnt to write about his own experiences. I get back from seeing Lewis. I find myself thinking about how he's learnt to write about himself, how brave it is to speak as honestly as he does. And I realise just how little of myself is in my own writing. Later that day,
Hello?
I make a phone call. Oh, is that Shay?
Hi, speaking.
Shay's also an MC. She's been rapping and writing poetry for years. She also works with teenagers, helping them to write their own pieces.
For me, initially, when I was first writing little raps and things like that, it was more, they were very bragging kind of ones. It was like all these show off, like I'm the best and you're not kind of vibes. And it was like, oh, watch my skills and stuff. The content, like, I guess it wasn't conscious. Like I hadn't thought fully about what am I saying? What's my message? Why am I saying it? It was more for fun, which is really interesting because now, like when I'm teaching or doing youth work or we're going out on the bus into the estates and kids are writing their first raps, even in schools, you can see initially all they're doing is writing anything to make it rhyme so that they just have their first bit to say and they don't really care what they're saying or if it makes sense.
I tell her how I'm finding things.
So can I ask you, so when you're writing at the moment, like to a beat, like or you're writing your hip hop bars, let's just say for the sake of knowing what we're talking about, if you're writing hip hop, are you writing to the actual beat you've got, or are you writing bars and then laying it on a beat?
Okay, yeah, I'm getting the beat first, and then I'm kind of writing around the beat. I can play you an example if you want to hear an example. If that.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay, go on.
Okay, let's see if I've got this on here.
Going in hard on FIFA, swimming pools and margaritas. Anytime there's
Like that.
Okay, cool. Nice. You got your own style going on there.
Yeah, do you know what? That was one of the positives that we got from that is that I at least I've got like my own style. Although a few of the guys have said that I sound a bit like 90s.
Yeah, it does actually. I can see that as well.
Oh, jeez. But okay, so like what I'd like to know is like your writing process. I found it really interesting what you said about it started with lyrics that you liked from other people, because actually Tony, that was how he advised me to get started, was he said to start learning the flows of different artists and how they do things. But what does your writing process look like now? Like if you're writing...
I mean, it's so weird. It really depends. I guess the same way as how you would do poetry, like it just depends how you're feeling and stuff. Like, and sometimes the beat will drive you. So where I found that I had my best songs or my best bars or freestyles is I literally loved the beat straight away. And before it was really handy, like when you would practice or rehearse, like you'd just put a beat on repeat that you proper loved. So like back in the day, I know everyone rinsed the like Mobb Deep instrumental, like for Shook Ones or like Quiet Storm, and like it would just repeat over and over, and it's such a good beat to like write to. And I always found that if there was a beat that you really love or you connect with, whether you're rapping on it, whether you're listening it as a beat, or whether you're listening to it with the original artist on it, if it's a song you really like, I find it really helps you when you want to like write to it. The thing is, like, I know like the two beats you just played sounded quite happy.
Yeah.
Like they're quite bouncy and happy and like the stuff you're saying in that sense. For me, I like the reason I write is usually I have something to get off my chest, or I feel like I want to be moved, or I want someone else to be moved by what I'm writing. So I always find that the more honest and deeper and vulnerable bars and stuff I write, that's when my best stuff comes out. And I usually have beats that drive that feeling to me. So like whether they're quite melancholic or in like there's very like minor keys in it, or it's like quite a sad loop, then that inspires the lyrics out of me.
Okay.
So I don't know like why you're writing it, or you know, do you get what I'm trying to say? I think that that's one of the first things you need to ask yourself is to get if you're actually doing this because you want to try and see how good you're going to actually genuinely be. It's very different to if you're doing this as a fun experiment, because you're going to get two completely different results. If you're like, you know what, I want to write two really deep touching tracks and see how I can connect with the audience with this, and these are the beats I'm picking, versus I'm going to take all this information and see if I apply it, how the song's going to come out. They're very two different outcomes.
I think what Shay's trying to say, very politely, is why should I care about anything you're rapping about? What part of yourself are you putting at risk in your work? Where's the truth in this? She's really got a point. Maybe it's hard to finish these pieces because I don't have anything to say. I need to take more risks. Yeah, you're right. And you know what? That's more scary to me. Like, even when that is definitely more scary to me. Like, trying to say something, like, even when I started writing poetry, I was writing, like, joke poems where I'd fallen in love with my iPhone or something like that, you know, when...
Yeah.
And like, but didn't, quite often not try and talk about anything too personal. That's interesting. Okay.
I just think that if you... Like, you can try it. Like, you don't have to... this doesn't have to be your final song.
Yeah.
But if you have time, maybe a good task would be, if you pick a hip-hop beat that you really like you just like, if one of your favorite hip-hop tracks that you like, you just start writing to that and just write about something that's very close to your heart to it, and just see how that goes and what comes out of it. If it's not for you and you feel like, oh, you know what, this isn't really going anywhere, like, fine. Yeah. But I think it would be nice for you to get the other side of that feeling as well, you know?
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, I think you're right. That's really, really helpful, Shay. I think that seems much scarier as well. But
yeah, I think that's when you know this, you teach, you know, and you do poetry. You know that when something's scary or you're most vulnerable, you might actually get the most beautiful thing out of it, or, you know, just something that allows you to start like triggering something inside you. I would be really interested to hear what you come out with as well. Also, Mark.
Yeah.
What? Sorry to interrupt you. What BPM have you been writing to? Do you know?
I don't really understand the BPMs. I don't know. Like, what would you? I mean, I've got one that's quite slow.
Right.
That I was writing to. I've got some.
Because a beat can feel slow, but it could even be like 140 or 120, which is like, for example, like a grime like sounding beat or a trappy beat. So. What I was going to say is it's so much easier initially writing to like 90 BPM, which is basically like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like when you play a track, or if you ask whoever sent you the track, or even if you're going into YouTube and typing like, I don't know, like chilled hip hop instrumental 90 BPM, it will come up just so that you'll know the difference in the drums, because like all the Mob Deep like ones I was telling you about, all them kind of old school Nas beats and stuff like that, most of them were like 90, 95 BPM. They're easier to write to at the beginning.
Okay. I like this. This is like homework now, right?
Yeah. Definitely going to send you like a couple of examples. And then even maybe like a couple links to some beats that are quite easy to write to.
Oh, that would be really helpful. Cool. Shay, I
All
really
good.
appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No worries.
And have a good day. And So it's an hour later, and Shay has sent through a bunch of beats. She says she wants me to listen to the tracks and see if any stand out. One beat I really liked, a beat by Jay Dilla. It was just this piano playing. It sounded really sad and interesting too, sort of resigned and defiant all at the same time. There's hope in there too. And the more I listened to it, the more it reminded me of how I felt as a teenager sometimes. Okay. I've never really talked about this, but it feels like you have to expose something. So all through my life, I've had these periods of time where I've either been really down and depressed, as though I'm out of sync with everyone else, just like I feel that there's this wet blanket wrapped around me. Or I have these other periods of time where I'm manic and intense, and I believe I can do anything. I get lots done during these times. It's as if the world and everyone else is moving too slowly for me, like they just can't keep up. In both cases, as a teenager, I found it really overwhelming. Small things could trigger me spinning out in either direction. It felt a little bit like having some internal switch that could just flip without warning. And I hated it so much. I really didn't know what to do. There were times I felt like I'd never be able to get rid of it. Nowadays, I've learnt to identify what can cause that switch to flip. And so I spend my time making sure I keep myself balanced. My wife, Lucy, helps a lot, as does my dog, Boo. And I have a counsellor that I see occasionally, just if I ever start to feel those warning signs. This isn't the kind of thing that I'd normally write about. Most of my friends and family don't really know about it. Even saying this on a podcast, knowing that it's going to be broadcast, feels pretty weird. But yeah, there it is. I've really struggled with this thing, but I'm on top of it. So I decide to do what Shay recommends. I'll write about it. I start looping this beat. I play it over to myself everywhere I go. And I start writing. After about 2 weeks, I'm starting to lose my mind. The piece is spiralling all over the place. There's just so much to say. Then I remember what Lewis told me. Just have a beginning, middle, and an end. My beginning. 16 bars on when I first started having these feelings. My middle, 16 bars on when they were at their most intense. And finally, 16 bars about where I am now. That's a structure. That makes sense.
Okay. So you've written it.
Yeah, I've written it. Just gonna try and give it a go.
Take your time.
Okay. 10 years old. Look at me. Unsinkable. Ripping it out my mates as we head into school. Certain we're invincible. We'd play our games, acing it, kings and queens, picking our teams, till a shot I'd take would miss. And then it's like the tables flip. And everything's replaced with this greyness. The clay gripping to my lungs. I don't know what to make of it. I'm nothing like my heroes. The cape won't fit. A weirdo, no escaping it. I feel choked. Tears flow, days later wake. And I'm the greatest. I'm lit up, I'm singing in recitals. I'm brimming, high on winning, I won't listen, no, I'm certain I'm the best that you've got. Catch me acting like a demigod. Best friends left to rot. I find it hard to breathe here at the very top and down again. What has come over me? It's so extreme I scare myself. What does bipolar mean? Why do I fly so high? Nights I can't go to sleep. When will this grip in my chest let go of me? By 17, I let it get the best of me. Purple hair and shredded jeans. Hanging with my friends seemed to have it all together. Good health, a tight home, no enemies, but still so much stress in me at nights I couldn't get to sleep without agonising over when this switch would flip, pinning me down again, or else I'd be lifted up, making plans frantically, letting people vanish like they couldn't understand it. It's just me. I'm alone on my own planet, and the shame that remained in those middle days. How can you think like this? Then the switch flips and you're out of sync. All you say is sounding shit, everyone's frowning, it won't go away, going out feels like drowning. Till one night, so done, I climbed out on my windowsill, ground far below me. Grip with my fingers, still night, held tight, felt my head throb. It'd be so much easier to just step off. Moving on to middle age, and look at me. I'm jogging in the mornings. My drinks are mostly sugar-free. I'm good, it seems. My manic days are limited. I stay away from windowsills. Some days are a bitter pill, but anytime I flip that switch, I know that it's a fallacy. I just skate the ground with a wife and a dog and a mortgage and a counsellor. I take my days easier. I hold back on social media. I learn to soothe my ego when I'm selling out in theatres, and so other green fishes, lean dishes, how to deal with this scene and what it means as we're struggling upstream. This is just one more being who's given up their scribblings. I'm not sure you win with this, but I'm done with giving in, and there's no point denying if there's highs and lows inside us. I mean, I'll keep on striving. If those forces get too violent, just speak up. Believe me, it's okay not being fine. Just remember, without pressure, you can't hope to hone a diamond. Searching in the darkness for a light switch. The moment that you find it, you're blinded by the brightness. And by the time your sight's adjusted, night's coming. This might all be for nothing, but still it's time to write it.
How'd you feel?
Yeah, all right, I think. Check.
I think that sounds okay.
It's now 3 days later. Me and Ross are now standing outside Sam's bar in the centre of Peterborough. Inside, it's the weekly open mic night. And I've put my name on the bill to perform.
Okay.
This is happening now.
Yeah.
At 9:15 p.m, that's about 5 minutes from now, I'm supposed to go on stage and rap this new piece to a room full of people. And I'm so scared I can barely move.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if I'm more nervous than you are.
No, I'm more nervous than you are. I'm definitely more nervous than you are. Writing this new piece wasn't easy, but this next step is going to be even harder. This podcast was written by me, Mark Grist, and produced by Ross Sutherland. You can listen to Ross's podcast, Imaginary Advice, online as well. We've attached a link in the description to the show. This podcast is supported by Arts Council England. Thanks for listening.